Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The last nail is being driven into the coffin of the American Republic, yet Congress remains in total denial as our liberties are rapidly fading before our eyes. The process is propelled by unwarranted fear and ignorance as to the true meaning of liberty. It is driven by economic myths, fallacies, and irrational good intentions. The rule of law is constantly rejected, and authoritarian answers are offered as panaceas for all our problems. Runaway welfareism is used to benefit the rich at the expense of the middle class. Who would have ever thought that the current generation and Congress would stand idly by and watch such a rapid disintegration of the American Republic? Our presidents can now, on their own, order assassinations, including American citizens, operate secret military tribunals, engage in torture, enforce indefinite imprisonments without due process, order searches and seizures without proper warrants, gutting the Fourth Amendment, ignore the 60-day rule for reporting to the Congress the nature of any military operation as required by the War Powers Resolution, continue the Patriot Act abuses without oversight, wage war at will, treat all Americans as suspected terrorists at airports with TSA groping and nude x-raying. And the Federal Reserve accommodates by counterfeiting the funds needed and not paid for by taxation and borrowing, permitting runaway spending, endless debt, and special interest bailouts. And all of this is not enough. The abuses and usurpations of the war power are soon to be codified in the National Defense Authorization Act, now rapidly moving its way through Congress. Instead of repealing the 2001 authorization for the use of military force, as we should, now that bin Laden is dead and gone, Congress is planning to massively increase the war power of the president. Though an opportunity presents itself to end the wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Pakistan, Congress, with bipartisan support, obsesses on how to expand the unconstitutional war power of the president he already holds. The current proposal would allow a president to pursue war anytime, any place, for any reason, without congressional approval. Many believe this would even permit military activity against American suspects here at home. The proposed authority does not reference the 9/11 attacks. It would be expanded to include the Taliban and associated forces, a dangerously vague and expansive definition of our potential enemies. There is no denial that the changes in Section 1034 totally eliminates the hard-fought-for restraint on presidential authority to go to war without congressional approval achieved at the Constitutional Convention. Congress's war authority has been severely undermined since World War II, beginning with the advent of the Korean War, which was fought solely under a UN resolution. Even today, we're waging war in Libya without even consulting with the Congress, similar to how we went to war in Bosnia in the 1990s under President Clinton. The three major reasons for our constitutional conventions were to guarantee free trade and travel among the states, make gold and silver legal tender, and abolish paper money, and strictly limit the executive branch's authority to pursue war without congressional approval. But today, Federal Reserve notes are legal tender, gold and silver are illegal. The Interstate Commerce Clause is used to regulate all commerce at the expense of the free trade among the states. And now, the final nail is placed in the coffin of congressional responsibility for the war power, delivering this power completely to the president, a sharp and huge blow to the concept of our republic. In my view, it appears that the fate of the American Republic is now sealed, unless these recent trends are quickly reversed. The saddest part of this tragedy is that all these horrible changes are being done in the name of patriotism and protecting freedom. They are justified by good intentions while believing the sacrifice of liberty is required for our safety. Nothing could be further from the truth. More sadly is the conviction that our enemies are driven to attack us for our freedoms and prosperity, and not because of our deeply flawed foreign policy that has generated justifiable grievances and has inspired the radical violence against us. Without this understanding, our endless, unnamed, and undeclared wars will continue, and our wonderful experiment with liberty will end. And I yield back the balance of my time.
How did the American political discourse become so perverted that candidates like Mitt Romney and Rick Santorum and Newt Gingrich can say with a straight face that Ron Paul's foreign policy is dangerous? How did we get to the point where these men are even taken seriously? These men who never once put on a uniform running against the veteran that they are opposing. How is this possible? I served as a sergeant on a Marine Corps Civil Affairs team in the Fallujah area in 2004 and found out the hard way that the greatest enemies of the Constitution, to which I swore an oath, to which Ron Paul swore an oath, to which every military service member swears an oath, are not to be found in the sands of some far-off land, but rather right here at home. It is undeniable what our government has become. It is undeniable what our foreign policy has become, because poor men continue to die in rich men's wars. For far too long, the voice of the troops has been kept from the American political dialogue. But not anymore. You want to support the troops? It's time to start listening to them.
There are 535 people on Capitol Hill whose job it is to write the laws that govern all of us, and he is one of them. There are 535 people on Capitol Hill whose job it is to preserve the Constitution, and he is one of them. There are 535 people whose job it is to preserve our liberties, and he is one of them. But in his heart and in his head, in his character and in his intellect, in what he has done and in what he will become, the Thomas Jefferson of our day, Ron Paul, is one of us.
And I wouldn't start a war in Libya. I'd quit bombing Yemen, and I'd quit bombing Pakistan.
That's all? Yes, sir. Run it again.
And I wouldn't start a war in Libya. I'd quit bombing Yemen, and I'd quit bombing Pakistan.
Thank you, Mr. Data.
There is more, sir. I have taken the liberty of expanding the parameters of my search.
Computer, freeze. Computer, enhance far left figure and compare. Same man. One question answered. What do we know of him?
He has been in public service since he was a young man. He is considered a man of the people. He has sponsored many reforms. Reportedly, leadership considers him to be somewhat of a radical because he has been an advocate of peace throughout his career.
Where would we find him?
The district he represents, he maintains a dwelling there.
God bless Texas.
I believe you will be able to locate him there.
Mr. Data, your resourcefulness never ceases to amaze me.
Thank you, sir.
Captain, we are being hailed by the junior adjutant to the diplomatic delegation.
Junior adjutant. On screen.
Good to be with you this evening. I think the one thing is the Republican Party's lost their mojo.
What is your name?
I'm Ron Paul. I'm a congressman from Texas, serving in my 10th term. I am the champion of the Constitution.
You've always had a hard time finding your place in this world, haven't you? Never knowing your true worth. You can settle for a less than ordinary life. Or do you feel like you were meant for something better? Something special?
You will always be a child of two worlds, and fully capable of deciding your own destiny. The question you face is, which path will you choose?
The founders would be ashamed of us for what we're putting up with.
This is about saving the future of humanity.
An idea whose time has come cannot be stopped by any army or any government.
We've come to take our government down.
Oh yeah, I need the government to take care of me.
Mind control here.
Yes, we can.
No!
The wait is over.